Good morning, Americano. So, guys, Kevin, Life22, if you didn't already know. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to comment with questions or concerns or tips and advice. Something you reacted to on the show. Yeah, so today is November 6th of 2018, which is Tuesday, Election Day. So it's very important to go out there and vote. I believe the polls open at 6 and close at 6 a.m. and close at either 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. So in New York, we've got a gubernatorial race. We have we have district races, I believe. Maybe it's congressional. I always forget what the exact title of Tom Reed is. So it's him versus Tracy Matrano. Matrano. I see her name. I could spell it. Yeah, so we've got those races going on today. Local alderman race. Yeah, so it's good to get out there and vote. Voice your opinion, whether you vote one way or another. So we've got that going on. And then, let's see. We've got... Today is our 50th show. 50th. This is number 6 here doing the morning podcast at Quinn'sWake. But it should be our 50th video on the channel. So once we're done today, we'll be done with a good 50. Thanks for hanging in there. It's been a rough ride. Yeah, baby Lennox. So just jumping around a little bit. Baby Lennox is doing well. He's gaining weight. And from what the doctors are saying is that he will be home as long as everything goes according to plan. He'll be home in he'll be home between 7 and 10 days from now, which is awesome. So give me 1 second. There. We're dropping a few frames, so just lightening the load here. So yeah, 7 to 10 days, we got little Lennox home, and he will be with his mom, his dad, his brothers and sisters, and that's you know, we're excited to have him back, or have him home originally, and the other, you know, sleepless nights will begin, but it's better than him not being home, so which is great. Again, reach out to family and friends and thank you guys for all of your help. Thanking people that I sit with on the Common Council for their support, neighbors for food and offering to watch babies, and you know, all that other stuff. So I appreciate everybody in our community. So just another morning. Just another morning here at Quinn'sWake, 6 a.m. So I'm going to get into a couple ideas that I keep dropping, and maybe I did mention them on the show, but I'm drawing a blank, and you probably have better memory than I do, because I've told so many people about this idea. So to try to boost people to come into Quinn'sWake, I have a tenant upstairs who's really big into darts. He's actually a national dart, soft-tip dart champion, and he plays in all the local dart leagues and stuff like that. And he was talking about maybe on Friday nights doing a dart tournament every Friday, every other Friday. We pull down a couple pictures and hang up some dartboards, and so message below, send me a message on Facebook, comment here, send me an email if you know me, send me a text message, whatever. Let me know what your ideas are. I'm trying to get public opinion on this. I think it's a great idea. It'll draw people in, and something that I brought close to home for me is we want to get like a little video game station here set up, like a couch and a table, and you know, a TV. People can hang back, and which is kind of cool because I'm going to have a video coming out in the next couple days. I picked up a Raspberry Pi, which, if you don't know what a Raspberry Pi is, it's a small little one card. Like small motherboard, about the size of a cell phone, you know, yada yada. So and it's a circuit board with the video card built on board. It's got the RAM on board, 4 quad-core CPU. It's very minimalist functionality, but it's, I mean, capability-wise, you're not going to be able to play large amounts of video games. You're not going to ask it to do, huge, rigorous tasks like video rendering and stuff like that. It just doesn't have the hardware for it. But I mean, for a $35 motherboard, it's not a bad price, because I can teach little Miley, and we're going to unpack this box in that next video. I'm going to teach Miley, who's almost 11, is going to learn a little bit about computers, and because she can use her phone all day long, but she has no idea how to get under the hood, problems, things that I grew up knowing. So this is kind of cool for me to be. My dad taught me how to build my first computer when I was 6. Slapping the motherboard in, throwing RAM into it, adding the graphics cards, all that other stuff. So every time I have a desktop, I usually building it myself. And it saves money that way because I know what I'm doing. But they change technology around, but it's always, the principles are all the same. And it's really kind of cool that I get to show little Miley this, and we can kind of build this computer from scratch, which it's kind of cool. So then I'm going to show her a little bit about video, like programming basics, like this is how you maneuver around different programs, and okay, well, I've come across this before, and help her to kind of get on her way in our digital world. But I'd like to do like a RetroPie project with this, so where we take it and it becomes an emulator for a whole bunch of different little older video games and things like that people can come in and just hang out, and you want to play some old school Mario, great. You want to play some Atari, great. You want to play anything up to, I believe the capability of this machine is like an N64, PlayStation 1, things like that. But I mean, you've got every other system below it: the SNES, the NES, the Sega Genesis, I believe the Sega Dreamcast, Game Boy, Atari. So I mean, there's quite a wide spread of features to this, and those old school games were very, very compact in size because they had to be based on the technology of the time. So one small SD card could hold thousands upon thousands of games, which is kind of cool. So you could come in and I got a couple controllers that came with it, the old NES controllers. Now I have a couple N64 controllers that are USB modded, so they can be plugged in as well. And down the road, I'd like to try to gather more, so you could come in, and then the game plan is to eventually progress it to doing Saturdays off the day after darts, Saturday afternoons into Saturday evenings, have a video game tournament, which I think would be really good for all ages. You get kids in their teens, guys in their 20s, girls in their 30s. People that are older want to pick up video games, want to get more hand-eye coordination going on. So it's something we've been working on, and I think it'll be very good. I think it'll be very successful. We don't serve alcohol here, so I mean, we open it up to a wider crowd. But that said, post your comments below. Partake in the live chat. Send me a message. Send me an email. Send me a tweet. We have Facebook. So any of those, let me know what you think. Are these great ideas, or are they shit? We don't know. We're gonna find out. I mean, like I said, the Raspberry Pi was like 35 bucks. Plus a little extra for power cords and all that other stuff. But I mean, I get to teach my kids something. So I mean, an education is. I always forget my Shakespearean lines. What is it? They never underestimate the value of a great education, I believe is from the Shrew. Anyways, but yeah, so that's where we are with that. Now, I guess morning podcast. Didn't get any guests on the show. I'm very disappointed with our upcoming local races. I mean, I didn't expect Tom Reed or Larry Sharp to come on the show, but it is what it is. We're a small local podcast, so. But you know, the alderman races, local people, all had ample opportunity, all had phone calls into them, voicemails. Oh, this came up, that came up. I don't want to do it. But I mean, the Common Council is about to approve some more transparency measures. I believe it was led by Paul Gonzalez. But I mean, I'm right behind him with this because obviously, as you can tell, I am a huge supporter of transparency, showing people exactly who I am, who you are electing, as well as in modern day society, people tell you not to put your stuff on the internet. Don't put your stuff on the internet. Employers look at that. Well, that's great, but I mean, you shouldn't exercise your freedom of speech because your employer could see it, because they might have a differing opinion, or your opinion might not be the same as the status quo, which means that it could hurt their business. And I kind of understand it from that aspect, but at the same time, the purpose of free speech is it not so that everybody gets a voice and gets an opinion and gets to voice it? You know, sometimes you hear people's opinions, you're just like, oh my God, shut up. I mean, everybody's gone through that in their entire, through their life. And, you hear somebody's opinion that you just don't like, you don't agree with. Maybe it's a different politician. Maybe it's your neighbor. Maybe, whatever it happens to be. But, I mean, they're entitled to their opinion. You're entitled to yours. And you're both entitled to speak as loud as you want. I mean, not in terms of aggressively at each other, but in terms of social media, making a ruckus, But that's the heart and soul of this country. So why not have transparency at Common Council meetings? Why not have transparency at the lowest form of government so that it starts to weed its way upwards? The trickle-up theory is what I'm now dubbing it, where local government gets it and then it trickles up to the powers that be, which are your state Congress, your state Senate, your governor's office. I mean, that's why I've been supporting Larry Sharp this whole time, because, I mean, he's been very transparent. He tells you exactly where he is, and he's very genuine. I've yet to see one video that isn't a sketched press release from any of the elected officials thus far, except for yours truly. There's a lot of ums in my voice, which goes to show that I'm unscripted. Most of the time I'm unscripted. I live my life off the cuff, which is great because I can adapt and evolve in any situation. The more you do that, the more you become accustomed to it. So if you're not from the political realm and then you go into the political realm, it's easier for you to play a chess match of words when you're kind of riding by the seat of your pants, and you're able to handle it better. If you're not riding by the seat of your pants and everything's scripted, somebody throws something at you during a debate or during simple conversation and you can't adapt and adjust to it, then you're going to look like a schmuck and you don't have any thought out ideas. Or you be honest and regroup and say, hey, I understand your point. I don't 100% know about that topic, but I will go do some research and I'll come back. But in the meantime, I can just listen instead of making shit up, which a lot of people do on site, or it is what it is. These Americanos are delicious. They get me through my morning. Coffee addiction. There's one to have. As my buddy Mark calls it, the dog food, the stuff those kids are putting in their arms now. Even though you could have that habit, or a simple Americano. Keeps you awake and kind of get you jump started for your day. A little NOS. So, that said, the transparency of local government is something that I'm in full support of. I know, I guess we'll work our way backwards. Alderman Ward 5 race, current standing Alderman John Crawford, has been doing a great job. And then there is the newcomer, Scott the Human Paletto. Sounds like a wrestling match, doesn't it? He comes to quite a few council meetings. If you've ever been there, you've probably seen Scott. He's usually the one that is standing up like a televangelist, preaching at the council, which, I mean, we're there to hear your opinions. So, I mean, feel free, come on down. But, I mean, Scott's there every week. And it's one of those things that, you know, to be honest, I don't know how he would fare in government, because there's a lot of things you want to do as an outsider looking in, but the system is structured by people that have screwed it up long ago and trying to work against those gears, and other people that want to hold that system in place. You can't make the change that's necessary to make everybody happy or to do what's best for the community. So you have to slowly work on changing the system so that you can do that. But, you know, you come in all gung-ho and, oh, I'm going to change this, I'm going to change that. And it doesn't work out. Like I said, politics is a chess match, and you've got opposition. And you're not going to just, oh, I'm just going to, this is my car, I'm going to fix it. You know what? I want red doors and a white hood. Like, yeah, you can do that if it's your car. But this is the government. This is a system that's put together by tons of people over a long period of time. And so what happens is that car, no, you can't put red doors here. You have to change this piece of legislation that says no car can have red doors on it unless the rest of the car is red. Well, son of a bitch. I gotta change that law, but that law can't be changed until you change this law. And if you change that law, then you have to figure out what this other part of that law did that affects this group over here. And you know, the yellow tinted windows can't happen. Yeah, it spirals out of control. I know sometimes my analogies are a little rough, but I mean, you kind of understand the point that it's, if that system is preventing you from changing stuff and you have to change things about the system, like, unless you throw it all out, which is very difficult to do, because now you have no order. Like, in this world, a piece of paper gives you power, right? Like, you were elected alderman, and you have this set responsibilities, duties, or power, this ability to do something. So, and then you say, well, what gives you that power? As, you know what I mean? Okay, you were elected. Well, that's great. But what document or doctrine gives you that power? Oh, well, it goes to the city charter, because the city was incorporated this many years ago, and this group of people said within these physical boundaries, these rules apply. And, I mean, so in order if you throw the whole system out, then great, these people elected me to do what? There's no charter, there's no doctrine, there's no nothing. You could just be the crazy guy with the tinfoil hat on, just saying, I'm changing the government, you all must listen to me now. Like that, I mean, that would be the same thing if you throw that out, because it's a physical piece of paper that somebody reads and says, okay, they establish this is the establishment, people understand this, there's law enforcement to enforce this doctrine. You know what I mean? Now you have nobody to enforce it, so who's going to say that? You can't just go in and throw stuff out without having a plan in place to immediately get reabsorbed by another doctrine, or it's just, yeah. I'm rambling. But, I mean, the system is so complicated that it took me my first term just to figure it all out. Now, I did do a lot of good things and some slow, you know, good changes. I consider them slow. A lot of people think they were fast-paced. I'm one to, you know, let's throw the car out, buy a new car, build a new car. So, but, you know, I'm learning that you can't just do that. You can't just go in and say, well, what if? It is good to have the what if, I'm great at playing devil's advocate in the fact that, like, okay, where's the loophole? How do you change this? How do you make this happen? I mean, working within this system, you have to, in order to make change, you have to change stuff. Like, that's a big thing. Like, people, oh, you can't do that because it changes stuff. That's what I'm here to do. So it's frustrating. But so I don't know how Scott would fare in a position in local city government. I mean, it would be a learning curve, and his outspokenness leads me to believe that he would kind of be a very frustrated individual, you know, when he's up there, like, because he'd be hitting his head against the walls because he wants to change it so rapidly and so fast, and he's just going to be kicking tires and not getting anything done, and then it would frustrate him. Conversely, John, on the other hand, has been doing a great job since he's taken office. He's learned the roles and the ranks and how everything works, and how you make your you make your way up the system, and you make your way through the system, and getting things that you need to have done and changed done, which is a great thing. You know, it's I know he's finance professor over at Pitt Brad, and so I mean, when it comes to budget season, which is one of our big, you know, weights that are on our shoulders at a local government, not that, I mean, it's the biggest one that we have. Obviously, you know, changing a city budget, I mean, really depends on the state, because there's tax caps and stuff like that, you know. It's one of those, like, all these little, just to give that as an example, to give all these constraints and things like that. You have, the state says this, okay, you can't do this, so you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do this. So, which makes our local system a lot more complicated and budgets a lot more strained. But having him there is really good, because I mean, he's a finance professor. He gets it. He understands it. He knows more than anybody else in the city building, for the most part, on finances. So that's. I mean, John's been doing a great job. After his first year of his first term, he became the council president. So I mean, he's getting it. He's a very smart guy. So I'm trying not to sway you one way or another. I'm just kind of like stating the facts and my opinion on how people would fare. I guess I am kind of giving you my take on who you'd see me voting for if I voted in that ward. Next coming down, from 10 to 1. We're doing the odd numbers, except 7 falls on the even numbers, because we have 7 aldermen, so they do 2, 4, 6, and 7 in 1 year, which is next year, when yours truly is up in Ward 4. They have, this year, they've got 1, 3, and 5. So we just went over 5. 3 is going to be your pal, Paul Gonzalez, who is unopposed. Last 2 years ago, he was opposed by a write-in campaign by Rick McFall, which write-in campaigns are awesome for doing nothing. So, unless you are very vigorous, but it's not a very positive outcome. You're kind of just wasting money, wasting time. You steal 3 votes, 3 votes. So Paul's running. So neither Scott nor John had time to come on the podcast. Paul's really busy at work, so I'm trying to squeeze him into the schedule. And then I have a call out there for Linda. And JR is self-employed, so he's like yours truly. I still make time for the podcast, JR. Just throwing that out there. So Ward 3, Paul's kind of in a unique ward where there's not much of a middle class. Like, a lot of wards are like, few upper class, few lower class, and then like middle class, big chunk. And Paul's is like large upper class, large lower class, very small middle class. So there's, I don't know, it's systemic voting trends. If you were to follow, like, like where people would say like lower income families usually don't have high voter turnout, and upper income families have slightly higher than the lower income, but they're still not as much. The middle class, who are the ones that are greatly affected by almost all change, is like the most active in the voting market. So, I mean, the rich have more of their dollars taken, and the poor reap most of the benefits. So you'd see, like, you know what I mean, where like in the way of our society nowadays, where people are, there's more food stamps being given out, there's more health insurance being given out to people that, you know what I mean. So, but it's kind of funny that those are the two groups of people that don't vote as much. So Paul's got this weird, like, that doesn't have that large middle class as much as the rest of us. So it's kind of a funny little quandary, something, paradox, paradigm. wrapped in an enigma. Ward 1. Ward 1 is current standing Alderman Linda Witt, and she's running against J.R. Benyon, who runs the Southern Tier Diesels. A little bit about J.R. He self-employed. He owns Adams Service, which is a Porta-John, formerly septic company. And I believe they do snow plowing and lawn care. I'm not sure about the lawn care. And so him, like myself, work a lot, but I mean, giving back to the community, you know. He runs Southern Tier Diesels. I believe he sits on the OLDC, which is the government municipality cannot take donations, so it has to have like a separate organization that is headed and run by the municipality that accepts donations. Just how New York State law is written. You can't accept you can't donate to the city. You have to donate to any donations to the city go to the OLDC, and then at which point members of the community and a few members of the city and elected officials determine where that money is going and where it's funded, unless it came with strings attached. And so they do that on behalf of the city. And so he sits on that board, which is, you know, it's good public service. They don't get paid for things like that. So kudos to him. And Linda, current sitting alderman, who was former mayor of Olean, is running again. So she's big into volunteer work. I know she's usually Meals on Wheels delivery. She volunteers there. I believe she helps out at a local soup kitchen. I don't know if it's, I believe it's a separate organization. She's part of Bonus Responds. Typically you'll see her uptown weeding, until it started getting close to like door knocking election season. Though was when I noticed her out there, but could just be coincidence. I mean, retired nurse from the hospital. So, and her husband's a pulmonologist. So, I mean, yeah. So, and Linda building a house in Olean, currently in her ward. This is like the first house since like the mid 2000s, which for a city of 10,000 people, I think the average house across the nation that is built in for every 10,000 people is like 1 a year, 2 a year, something like that. And the city of Olean has built, we're 14,000 people have built a house once a decade, which goes to show you we need development. We need new development. It doesn't matter where it is. We need development. I say that, and then in later shows I will discuss upcoming development that was brought to the city's attention and has been stopped, not by yours truly, in great opposition of yours truly. So, which is funny, and then so the people that stop it want to keep things the way they are, and then Olean dies, and they're the only ones that live here, and they're paying $16 million all by themselves. So congratulations, you can continue to do that, and no one else lives here. So, anyways, that was Kevin being Kevin and ranting about stuff. So let's see. Yeah, those are your alderman races. You've got Tom Reed versus Matrano, and then the gubernatorial race. I know I'm screwing that up. The governor's race. That's what it is. It's the governor's race. You've got Cuomo versus Molinaro, and I believe Larry Sharp is running on the Libertarian Party, but I don't believe that. I think he's a write-in. I think he's a write-in because I mean, I haven't been to the polls this morning. I'm doing the podcast here, and I'll be and I gotta help out down at the shop today. So as soon as I get out of here, about 12:30, I'm gonna be heading out to go vote, and I can let you know. Yeah, I don't believe he got the support. I don't believe the Libertarians are a major party in New York State as of yet, so they're not going to show up on as a line. So you might have to write him in if you're interested. I know that's probably who I'm going to vote for governor. Molinaro is the Republican candidate, and somebody showed me a video the other day. I could have sworn it was like a public video, not just one of those like behind the scenes videos that they give you of the politician saying something in the back of a strip club kind of thing, but he came out and he said that, you know, Cuomo was a friend of his in this video, and I was like, oh. He's like, yeah, I'm just doing this to help Cuomo out, like, let you know how corrupt the system is. So, I mean, that's... He doesn't have my vote for that, and obviously the status quo has got to change because, I mean, New York State's just like bleeding with corruption. So, if something's not done, the state's going to die. It's going to wither and die. What happens when you bleed is you bleed out, and nobody ever bleeds internally. It's called a blood transfusion, which was what we need. So, yeah, those are races. They're all very important. They're all very important. You need to go out there and vote, because if you don't vote, that's the other part next to free speech. That is right in turn with free speech, is the fact that you have the right to vote because you can voice your opinion. And that's probably the strongest opinion you have, because it elects folks like yours truly who, if you agree with, you vote for. If you disagree with, you vote for the other guy. Or you write in Mickey Mouse, because I have that every year. People write in Mickey Mouse. I had Charleston Heston, and then there's a few constituents that always vote for themselves. They write their own name in. They get one vote. So, I mean, that's what's going on with that stuff. And I put this shirt on this morning, and I thought about it. We have, I don't know if anybody else remembers Kmart. For all you kids out there, Kmart was a big chain box store, department store, depending on your generational gaps, that came in and slaughtered companies like Bradley's. I grew up a kid in Connecticut. Bradley's was huge. Bradley's was our Walmart. It was big. It took up like twice the parking lot of Walmart. And now, you know, Kmart came in down the road, sent Bradley's out of business, and then this ginormous warehouse became available for Walmart to move in and kill Kmart. And that's what happened. It's one box store killing other box stores. It's like Pac-Man. But they're also like Russian nesting dolls, where like the little Pac-Man gets eaten by the bigger Pac-Man. And that's what happened. So anyways, the missus bought this at Kmart's closing sale. So it was kind of funny because I think she paid 17 cents for this shirt. And I don't know if it was a message that Kmart was trying to send that like, hey, New York killed us. Not just Walmart, but New York was killing us, and that's why we pulled out of New York first. And just found it funny that a 17-cent shirt says New York State, the Empire State. Yeah, the Empire State. Yeah. 1624 to 2020. Yeah, I find it. I find that very funny. The whole 17-cent shirt. So, state got maybe a penny in sales tax on that too. So, yep. So, yeah, election day. So, comment below. Let me know what you think. What do you want to do? Who are you voting for? Let me know. Show your support down below. I hope everybody's been keeping up on debates. I missed last week's debate. Last Thursday night, November 1st, was Matrano and Tom Reed at the local high school here, which was kind of cool, but I missed it. I worked late, and then I got home and had to take care, help out with the kids and stuff, so I wasn't gonna get home late and then run over there. So I missed it, but I hope that a lot of other people that are voting today got to catch the debates, keep up on local politics. These are all very important things. Who wins the next Bills game? I know I'm going to get a lot of feedback on this. Who wins the next Bills game, whether it be the Bills or their opponent, does not increase the taxes on your house, does not decrease the taxes on your house, does not change your way of life. The Bills will always exist. There's always going to be an underdog. And their opponents will always exist. So, I mean, as much as I have friends that, they bleed blue and red for the Bills, it is more important to vote than it is to go out and watch Bills game. Just throwing that out there. But that aside, let's see. So maybe after this upcoming election, we can get a couple guests on the show that either didn't want to come on the show They told me one thing, but maybe didn't want to come on the show because there was an election afoot, which is very common amongst politicians. We'll see. My little brother said he really enjoyed coming on the show and chit-chat with you guys. I hope you guys liked his banter. We usually get pretty good when we're talking about our relatives and how we grew up. A lot of that shit is interesting, and it's funny. It makes for a good like dialogue of stand-up comedy. Very, very much is. I always thought about doing a stand-up routine with like my brother and my sister, so it was kind of a cool thing. Yeah, and keep subscribed, keep tuned. We'll be back here for the morning podcast on Thursday, and little Miley will be on the next video with me. Hopefully, either Wednesday afternoon, evening, or Thursday night after the morning podcast, and we'll be unpacking a Raspberry Pi, which would be very fun, showing little Miley. So that might be a longer video, of course. I know some podcasts can take 3 hours. I know some of them take 10 minutes. So it all depends. Miley's been kind of kicking in and helping out and really like enjoying helping me with the show and doing small little things. Like she helps me at the farmer's market. Tons of people are very impressed how good she is with customers, and you know, and just, you know, got to start them young. If you don't start them young, they start late, and then half their life is gone, and they don't learn things that they should have learned when they were kids, and they find less enjoyment in life. So you give your kids a wide spectrum of things that they can learn, and they will learn more and more and more and more, and then you become like this guy, and you have a thirst for knowledge, and like I'm always doing something. I'm always learning something new, and I'm never bored. Sometimes I'm stressed because I have so much going on, but yeah, gotta love it. So I will see you guys again. I would promise I'll have more topics than just the upcoming election, which hopefully squalls down politics for a minute. Well, Thursday we'll know the results of what's going on, and maybe I'll give you a doom and gloom speech, or maybe I'll give you a here's the brighter future. So you might. Nothing at the local level is going to change that, but I will see you guys again on Thursday, if not before. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you guys soon.